I want to bring in Jody Wiedeker, who is the founder of Chicago Alliance for Animals, and she has some groundbreaking news of what happened in Chicago this week. Jody, can you join in and tell me what went on in Chicago this week?
Well, the Chicago City Council voted to ban Chicago's horse carriages by the end of this year by an overwhelming vote of 46-4.
Yay! Okay, so this is huge. Let's break down for people why this is such a big deal. So what this means is that if you've ever been to Chicago, there's a famous street called Michigan Avenue. Michigan Avenue has people and taxis and Ubers and cars and buses and tour buses and horses. They don't go there. They don't fit. They don't go with traffic. It's not safe. It's not safe for people. It's not safe for horses. So when will these horses get off the streets officially?
By the end of the year. So they will no longer be on the street as of January 1st, 2021.
Okay, so this was not been an easy process. You might think like, well, of course, horses don't belong on Michigan Avenue next to a CTA, a city transit authority bus, but not everybody agreed. Tell me about the process of getting this passed.
Well, we officially started in May of 2015, our organization formed, but we didn't really, the campaign, I don't believe, really got in here until August 2017, which is when myself and a few volunteers documented the horse carriage violations. And what we witnessed that first day in August 2017 was that every single horse was being overworked. Most of them were worked more than double what the law allows. So when we started documenting that's when Alderman Riley, whose ward is where the horses work, he introduced an ordinance to ban horse carriages back in December 2017. We got our first hearing in September of 2018. The chair of that committee blocked the vote. And then we kind of got blocked until March 11th of this year, when it finally got a second hearing in the license committee, and it was passed unanimously, where the Alderman Riley and Hopkins adamantly defended animal advocates and defended the fact that there's nothing wrong with wanting to protect these horses, and making sure that the animal welfare laws on the books are enforced.
So again, it sounds like a simple process here, but as Jody explained, she's been at it for years. And I know there was a period when you had the majority, everybody was set to vote, and the committee kept not allowing a vote to take place. Why was this?
The first time in September 2018, the chair said it was because she wasn't well aware of the issues. If that's the case, we'd been sending her information since January of 2018. Every month we reached out to her. We sent her violations. We sent her the facts. We sent her videos and photos of documenting violations of Chicago's laws, not just the animal welfare laws, but the laws that are put in place to protect the public. And
sorry,
so
don't mean to hop in there because I know we only have 30 seconds. I just want to add to what you're saying. I think this is the testament of the human spirit, because despite these setbacks that you obviously had all the paperwork, they kept thwarting you, but you kept at it. And so I want to thank you so much for being here and for all the work you do. And really what people maybe don't know is that this is going to change lives for horses across the United States. Chicago's just the first city to go, but it's the first city of many, just like today. So Brian Rodgers joins me. I'm so happy to have you. Brian, I think you're coming to me from Colorado. Is that right?
Denver, Colorado. Thanks for having me, Elizabeth.
I'm so happy that you're here. Shout out to Denver, because how we do love you, Denver. So Brian, tell your story. I think most guys think like barbecue, it's summer, it's all about the meat, but not for you, because you lost 300 pounds on a plant-based diet and you're not going back. Tell me how you did it.
Well, I didn't quite lose 300 pounds, but I was 300 pounds.
Yes, what I meant.
But it's still definitely possible. I did lose half that. So, but I was 300 pounds about a year ago, actually a year ago. And if anybody's watching this, I'm not 300 pounds now. I'm 160 pounds.
Yay!
So how it started for me, I'm from Kansas City, born and raised, home of barbecue.
Yes,
been doing professional barbecue for over 30 years. And won the American Royal, actually, the largest barbecue contest in the world in 1999. So got a little few barbecue chops. But when I moved to Colorado here about 2 years ago, I was still doing barbecue, but I went to my doctor and I was diagnosed as being morbidly obese. I was 300 pounds. And I also got diagnosed with 6 life-threatening diseases. So I was diagnosed with liver disease, with dyslipidemia. I had severe hypertension, even had buffalo hump. I don't know, like if you've ever seen a buffalo, how they have that little extra piece of fat behind their, well, humans can get that too. I did not know that until I went to the doctor. I was diagnosed with a buffalo hump as well.
So that's an actual diagnosis? That's not like a nickname?
It is.
I'd never heard of that before.
It's an actual diagnosis. It's related to several different diseases, which I'm not a doctor. I don't even enjoy science or medicine. So I'm sure you have some amazing doctors on your show. I'm sure they could like tell you exactly what it is. But yeah, so it's a fatty buildup behind your neck. So I basically decided that I was going to have to do something and change, or I had to get gastric bypass surgery. Those are my 2 choices.
Huge.
And they are. And so I went to the gastric bypass surgeon to see what that was all about. And he gave me all, he's like, we're going to dissect your body. We're going to do all these different things to you. And none of that really scary. You could die. I mean, that was the other thing. You could die. And then he dropped the bomb on me. He said, now, Brian, we talked a little bit before we started here, and I know how much you love barbecue, and that's what you eat, and you're a big foodie. And I'm actually also a classically trained chef as well, not just a pitmaster. And he said, so I just want you to know that your taste buds are going to probably change. In fact, you probably won't like barbecue anymore. And that was it for me. That was it for me. That was the trigger.
Oh my gosh.
That was the trigger. He said I could die, and that was a lot, but giving up barbecue, I was not ready to do that. So I started the next day. I went cold tofurkey the next day. I haven't eaten a piece of meat since. I don't do dairy. I don't really do oil too much. I had to stop eating salt for the most part. And I went on a mission to see if I could still eat barbecue. And here I am. I lost 120 pounds, and I reversed all 6 diseases within 6 months of that first appointment. And now I've went on to lose another 20. So I've lost 140 pounds since I started. So I'm maintaining it, and I'm still eating barbecue.
Oh, I love this. And we're going to get into all the barbecue tips, because I also love to barbecue. And I think we could share some good tidbits for people, but I want to step it back. First of all, shout out to the human body. We can abuse it for decades. And sometimes knowingly we dive into the bag of chips and we know we're being bad, and then we try to retreat. But sometimes, unknowingly, meat and dairy are served to us as health foods. And so we don't even know that we're doing something bad for the body. Literally, since we're weaned from our mothers, I mean, we're talking decades. Listen to that. In 6 months, your body bounces back. I'm incredulous and in awe of what the human body can do. So when you start to shift the Titanic and you say, okay, no more meat because I don't want to go under the knife and I don't want to die either. So I'm just going to do food as medicine, the easiest, in a way, the lowest hanging fruit. Food as medicine. Did you have any trip ups, pitfalls, anything that kind of set you back a little bit? Or was it smooth sailing the whole way?
Every day. No, every day still. I got to tell you, it was a lot easier to lose the weight and reverse the disease than it was to get it. I worked really hard at putting that 300 pounds on. And I've been fighting childhood obesity since I was 8 years old. That's what I'm all about. That's what my foundation is, Fool's Gold Barbecue. That's what we do. All the things we do is about helping fight the incredible disease of childhood obesity. And so I've been fighting it since I was 8 years old. Nothing's ever worked. So do I have trip ups? Every single day? Like every day, it's still a challenge. But I've met so many incredible people that I didn't even realize this whole world of plant-based and veganism existed until I stepped into it. But yeah, challenges every single day. Every day I want to do something that I know is not right for my body. And absolutely, it's not an easy journey, particularly when you lose as much weight as I did. It's a mental challenge too. So, I mean, I still look in the mirror sometimes and still see my old 300-pound self. It's a crazy thing. Your brain takes a little bit to catch up with you. And my doctor's always telling you, Brian, that's going to go away. Brian, that's going to go away. But it's really weird when your wife said, Brian, you're 160 pounds, and you walk by a store or in a mirror and you see a 300-pound man. I mean, I don't know if you've seen my before and after pictures, but it's pretty dramatic.
Yes, I have.
So yeah, so it's a battle. It's a battle every day, but it's a great battle. It's an amazing battle that I've dropped everything else. I've had a lot of successes in my life. I sold a company to one of the big credit bureaus and made a lot of money. Now I've dropped everything else, and I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission to kind of be the lead generation aspect of plant-based and plant-based barbecue. So, yeah.
Well, I love that you say that. I wonder if there are any tips that you could give, particularly to the guys out there who are like, but wait a minute, I thought bacon was manly. And just a shout out to all the men. My heart is really with you because you have been sold such a bill of goods that you have to be obese with heart issues and cholesterol issues and maybe even erectile dysfunction issues because they've told you you have to eat meat, which is basically making you unhealthy. And that if you don't eat meat, it's not manly. So what do you say to those guys who are looking to get healthy, but don't know what to do because they've been told they kind of have to?
It's really hard. That's a great question. And that's definitely one of my missions. And I feel where I fit in this world is because I was a 2-time All-American. I went to college to play baseball, came out with a programming degree, still cook barbecue along the way. So I'm a man, like I love barbecue. Like I love baseball. I love football. I love sports. That's what I did my whole life. I wouldn't have went to college if it weren't for baseball. But I was a fat baseball player, but I was a good baseball player. But a lot of my friends are pitmasters. I have some famous friends that are famous pitmasters that have been on TV and that have barbecue shows and tease people. And they're coming out. They knew me already. I won the largest barbecue contest there is for barbecue. So a lot of people look at me and say, I know that guy can cook. I know he has the chops in barbecue. And you know what? Put some food in front of me. I'll try it. I think that's where I'm really good is getting people to just try stuff. But as far as tips, the biggest tip that I found, and I did it easy. I didn't do any crazy CrossFit. I just started walking. I walked 3 miles a day. That's all I did. I did not do any CrossFit. I lift weights a little bit now, but I wasn't. A lot of my friends in the plant-based world are these huge vegan athletes. That's amazing. You see them with their shirts off and they look amazing. That's just never quite been me. I mean, I look really good for 45, but
I'll give you that.
I've never been like that crazy, like that. So I just walk. But the biggest tip for me was to not look at things as ingredients. That's really the overwhelming thing is there's millions and millions of recipes out there when you're trying to go plant-based or go any diet. It doesn't really matter what you're doing. There's so many recipes out there and you could say, I could never give up cheese or I could never give up meat or I never looked at it like that. I always said, okay, what am I eating now? Well, I like pizza. I like tacos. I love barbecue. Barbecue's my thing. That's my niche, but I love Indian food and I love barbecue and I love Greek food. And so I always, when friends tell me I could never give up cheese, I'm like, well, what do you like your cheese on? Well, I like it on tacos. Okay. So it's tacos we're talking about. It's not cheese we're talking about. So I think really breaking it down to looking at things as a dish more so than an ingredient is a huge tip. I think that it's the key. Yeah.
I love that you say that because cheese was the thing that held me back. I just kept thinking overwhelmingly, well, how am I going to get rid of cheese? And really, I think I was thinking about pizza because that's what kept coming up into my mind. And at the time, this would have been 2016. I didn't really know that vegan cheeses existed. They tuck them way away in the grocery store, so you can't even find them anyway. So, as a mainstream eater, I didn't even know that existed. But once I started dabbling and, in the next segment, we're going to really get into cooking tips. But once I started dabbling in the kitchen and I was like, oh, I can make a mean gyros here, then it was really easy because there is a plant-based taco with that isn't like a mushroom taco that is really plant-based meat. You're not really going to know the difference. My gyros, people don't know the difference. My lasagna, I do a spicy. I'm from Chicago originally. I do a spicy Italian Chicago beef. Nobody knows the difference. So we have advanced so far with food innovation that really anything you like as a meat eater, it's there for you as a plant-based meat eater. And I'm wondering, the men around you who are also pit masters, they must be inspired by your dropping of 140 pounds.
Yeah, it's even in that world of a big manly world, that we're all in there. Everybody knows we all need to get healthier right now. And we all know the majority of us, if you just apply common sense, I don't really live in the plant-based world. I don't really do plant-based forum. I love your show and your stuff, but I'm very particular. I don't go and do plant-based forums. I'm not around plant-based and vegans every day. I'm out in the real world. I cook for schools. That's what I do. I go out and I cook food for schools. I cook for homeless shelters. Right now I'm cooking, my wife's a doctor. I cook for doctors and nurses every day. I'm out cooking, but when they ask me to cook, guess what I show up with? I show up with plant-based barbecue. I show up with, they know I can cook already. They ask me to cook. I I don't take on jobs where they tell me what their menu is. I tell them, hey, you want me to come cook for you? I'll bring you amazing food, but I'm going to do it the way I'm going to do it. So I show up and I'm trying to get plant-based food into the pitmasters' bellies, into the doctors and the nurses and the school kids. I'm out there literally feeding this to people, and people like, that's really, really good. Like you said with gyros and your Italian beef. They're like, oh my gosh, this is really, really good. You lost, and then after that, I say, hey, by the way, I lost 140 pounds. I reversed liver disease. I reversed hypertension. And they're like, wow, there is something to that. And even my pitmaster friends, they're like, wow, that's amazing. I need to do this at least once a week.
Yes. Oh, I love that they're changing because they see you leading by example.
Right.
Yeah. I
Yes.
love that you do that because everybody does want to get healthy. And that's really where I think we can kind of bring people over and convert them. I've had great success with my recipes. And so when we come back from break, we're actually going to get into the details of some good barbecuing and some Fool's Gold barbecue sauce. Note the t-shirt, everybody, if you're watching on Facebook Live. It's the Elysabeth Alfano Show, and we'll be right back. It's the Elysabeth Alfano Show right here on WCGO. Thanks for being with me, everybody. I have a fabulous and spirited guest, Brian Rodgers. He lost 140 pounds, going from 300 now down to 160. Rock star you. But it's not the only thing that you've accomplished. You're also a pit master. I mean, you do a bunch of stuff, but you love to cook. You're a pit master, and we know that grilling season is almost upon us. And, you know, even with social distancing, you can grill with yourself and grill with your spouse. So you don't even have to grill for a lot of people. You can do it when the weather starts to get nice, even if you're social distancing. So Brian, tell me what you've got going with Fool's Gold, and then we'll get into some tips for barbecuing.
All right. I'd love to do that. So Fool's Gold Barbecue, surprisingly, like a lot of people say, Brian, why would you ever start like a barbecue? It's like, why would you start a barbecue sauce business? Why would you start a rubs business? Well, one of the reasons I did, it was therapy for me while I was going through my journey. So a lot of people say like, what do you do? Like, I'm so bored. I want to eat. I want to do all these things. We have to find, I call them panic attacks. You have panic attacks when you're going through these major journeys, right? Whether it's losing weight or reversing diseases. One of the things I always recommend somebody do is do a hobby, do a side hustle, right? And so I said, you know what? I need to change all my barbecue recipes anyways. I need to get all the nasty stuff out of them, like the high fructose corn syrup, like the sugar, all the sugar. Barbecue's really well known for a lot of sugar, a lot of salt, a lot of high fruit, a lot of ketchup, high fructose corn syrup. So I made a mission that I'm going to change all my recipes. And I created it literally for me, for my journey. And a few neighbors and friends said, hey, Brian, can I try your sauce? Like, can I try it? Sure, you can try it. And a few other friends said, I want to try it. And it was off. Now it's in Whole Foods and it's in Sprouts and it's on all these markets. And I'm really proud of the sauces and rubs. It's the first full line of plant-based barbecue sauces and rubs that's ever been on the market. So all the proceeds go to my foundation, which we donate 100% of the profits to it's called the Next Thing Smoking Foundation. I don't make a dime off of it. It all goes to fight childhood obesity. And that's what it's all about. And you can find it if you type in Brian Rodgers barbecue or who invented plant-based barbecue or plant-based barbecue expert on Google, you're going to get pages and pages and pages and pages about me. So,
Fantastic.
But Fool's Gold does help. And if you've ever had it, I didn't have time to get you a care package before this show.
I know. So I was going to tell you that. I was going to say, you got to get that stuff into my hands because when I think of barbecue sauce, I think of too sugary, too sweet. So I'm thrilled to know that it's not just that it's plant-based, but also that it doesn't have all that corn syrup because I think of it as like just a sticky, gross ketchup. Obviously, I'm not a barbecuer in that way, but I do want to shout out to your foundation, the Next Thing Smoking. Is that what you call it?
The Next Thing Smoking Foundation,
which is so awesome that you're taking on childhood obesity. And I'll add to that, although it's not what your foundation does, but I'll add to that, childhood obesity dramatically on the rise, but also childhood diabetes. This type 2 diabetes that you used to only see in adults now is coming to children at a rapid pace. It's quite common, actually. These are very disturbing statistics, and you're just committing someone to a life of no exercise, never feeling great, never being able to live to their full potential. It's a prison sentence for these kids. So thank you for doing that. I'm so happy that you're addressing that. Okay, so let's get into some real tips. What's your favorite thing to barbecue? And then I'll tell you mine.
My favorite thing to I'm from Kansas City, so we love two things. It's sauce and burn ends. Kansas City is known for their burn ends and sweet potato burn. I can make a sweet potato taste like Kansas City brisket burn ends. I'm telling you.
What?
I can make
I
a
want
sweet
some of
potato.
that too.
Yeah. Yeah. So sweet potato burn ends are my absolute favorite thing to do. I can cook it for anybody at any time, anywhere. I don't care what they like. They may not like the barbecue sauce, but they're going to love the sweet potato burn ends. So that's my favorite, sweet potato burn ends.
Wow. Okay. Well, here's my favorite. I take a portobello mushroom and I marinate it in either Bragg's or soy sauce, whatever I've got going around, fresh garlic, fresh rosemary, a little bit of balsamic red wine, just a little bit of balsamic vinegar. I let that hang out in a Ziploc bag in the fridge for, 2, 3, 4 hours or a day if I forget because I'm busy. And then I take that and I just put it on the grill, 7 minutes each side, boom. And it's a huge, I get it on usually a ciabatta bun. I make sure that it has no eggs. So a ciabatta bun is great for that. And then, I do whatever I want to do. I like mustard. Not everybody likes mustard on theirs, but a spicy brown mustard with tomatoes and really thick onions that I've already grilled. And boom, I'm really happy about it.
That sounds delicious.
Okay, I'll make it for you if you make me that burn-in sweet potato. So it's amazing that you're talking to me. I thought you were going to maybe say like, oh, I go for the Beyond Meats of the world or that kind of barbecue, but you're not doing that.
No, and the Beyond Meats and grill, that's pretty much grilling. There's this whole other thing that's barbecue. Like when you go to a barbecue restaurant, you don't really find hamburgers. You find ribs and pulled pork and chicken and things like that they smoke in big smokers. And that's really what I try to focus on. And so I don't really do too much of the meat replacements. Of course, I had to lose a lot of weight. So I was doing it for health reasons and now for the environment and animals and things.
Yes.
So all my stuff is focused on healthy as well. Not that it's not healthy. It's better than the alternative for sure. So no, I don't really do a lot of the plant-based, although I did do some beyond, I got hired to do consulting there's a new restaurant opening in New York City. Hopefully when this passes over, called Pure Grit Barbecue. They're a plant-based barbecue restaurant I did their entire menu. They hired me to be there to help come up with their recipes and things like that. And we really, we're doing a Beyond Burn End on their menu. So that's going to be kind of something interesting.
When is that going to launch, you think?
It was supposed to launch May 1st, but they obviously weren't able to do that. So hopefully this year. Yeah, this year. They've already received funding. They have a location already. They're good to go. So
what do you do when someone says ribs? I got to have ribs. What do you do for them?
So with ribs are a very easy thing to do. You can do it multiple ways. One, a sweet potato. Again, you can make ribs out of sweet potatoes. You can make ribs out of, I make ribs out of tofu every once in a while. You can also make ribs out of tempeh. You can also make ribs out of seitan. You can, ribs are one of the easiest things. The thing about ribs is it's just pork. That's like the regular meat ribs is just pork. So if you cut a sweet potato or whatever for that size anyways, and you put really good, the seasonings are the key. Like putting the barbecue rubs and the barbecue seasoning, that's the key. And you make sure you season it really well. You smoke it. That's another key, is you can smoke it for, 20 minutes, 40 minutes, whatever. And then you slather it with some nice barbecue sauce or some mustard, like you said. And it's very simple. Like ribs are an easy thing.
I love that you say that because I love to work with seitan, and really meat is, and seitan's like this blank slate, right? So they've already got the texture down with seitan. And so then it's up to you to decide what you do with it. And people always think like they have this addiction, and maybe it's culturally imposed as well. I'll say for the men out there that, you kind of got to do it if you're a guy. But, we're sort of fed to believe like we have to have this meat. But the truth is the meat doesn't taste the way it tastes without the spices. It's all about the spices. So do you have a favorite spice?
All about the spices?
It's all about the spices.
Well, I mean, it's obviously, I have my own spice. I have my own line of rubs and stuff. So I love barbecue type rubs. So they're really paprika heavy, cumin heavy. I use a little sugar in some of my spices, but not much. I use a demerara sugar, so a darker sugar, but I don't use a lot. I don't use any spices, any sugar, any salt in my rubs. That's kind of unusual in barbecue to not use salt. So I love the cumins. In fact, you can go check out our whole line of rubs at Fool's Gold Barbecue for sure. So
we just go to foolsgold.com.
Yeah, just type in Fool's Gold Barbecue. You'll find it.
You'll find it. Yeah.
You'll find it. Yeah.
So I'm wondering if you lean on the Bragg's or soy sauce at all.
No, so in barbecue, I don't use soy sauce or Bragg's at all.
Okay.
So we don't need it. We use natural smoke. So we use wood. So we use hickory wood, we use apple wood, we use things like that to really infuse the flavor in. And typically in barbecue, you don't use a lot of marinade, you use dry rubs. So we'd use some mustards and things like that to get the rubs to stick on, but then you smoke it in a smoker, and you can do it in your oven as well. And we really rely on the barbecue rubs to really get that flavor in, as opposed to marinade. You do marinate some, but not a lot in traditional real barbecue. But
And
I love marinades. I love marinades.
I think you just like barbecue, my friend.
I just
and
love
all that it
food. I just love
entails.
food.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm with you there for sure. So I'm wondering if just guys kind of pull you aside and say like, hey, dude, I want to go plant-based. How do you
Yep.
help me? And like, don't tell anyone.
Yeah, all the time. My friend who played football at Notre Dame, my best friend growing up, was really at a point to where he really needed to make a change, and he actually went as far as asking me basically the same question you just asked me. And then he said, "You know what? I can't do it on my own. Can I come move in with you for 2 weeks?" And he did. He came and lived in my basement for 2 weeks, and he lived in my basement for 2 weeks, and he just ate with me every day. He's like, you know what? I think I could do this. I think I can do this. Like, this isn't that hard. And he did that. And then he told a couple of his friends about it, his football buddies. And
they moved in.
I've got now I've got this like big following of like football guys and baseball guys and athletes and runners and stuff, because all my stuff's healthy too. I don't do junk. I don't do really junk food. I do on occasion. Let's just be honest, but not often. Most of my stuff is very healthy. Families can do it quickly. You can cook in bulk with barbecue, which is amazing. You can smoke sweet potatoes and be eating 10 different dishes throughout the week. It's a very easy thing to cook in bulk for a family as well.
Yeah, I love this. Barbecue is one of those things where you do a little work up front, not much, and then you kind of leave it to do its thing. And you go around, you take a shower, you pay some bills, you get on with your life. It's not an all-encompassing thing, so it's very easy for a family. It's very easy if you're working all day. You can do some stuff on a Sunday night. It'll get you through till Friday if you're working. And of course, athletes, of course, they would want this, because an athlete, their job is to be their best that they can be, to compete at their highest possible ranking. And you can't do that when meat is slowing you down. And just
I really work. Go.
Just kind of a shout out here. Maybe some people don't know. I'm embarrassed to say I didn't know. Meat has no fiber. It is impossible to have a healthy diet without fiber. We have these incredibly long intestines. That means that if you have something with no fiber, that is a dead animal, it's going to sit in your system for 2 to 3 days. Really hard to compete, be a runner or something like that on that kind of diet. So it doesn't surprise me that the athletes are all about you.
Yeah, I work with a lot of athletes here in Denver, and they really are big on the protein. So I pack, when I do like pulled jackfruit, for example, I'll do trays and trays of pulled jackfruit. Now I'm doing individual portions because I have to deliver it to them and it's smaller, but I pack it with chia seed. I pack the rub with chia seeds and flaxseed meal and all this really amazing vegan protein, and they eat it and they're like, oh my gosh, I can't eat another bite.
Yes,
I'm so
they're
full.
They're totally full. And just another thing I want to get to everybody, all protein starts in plants. The only reason meat has protein is because they ate the plants. Just get rid of the animals, get rid of the middle person. I hate to leave you. It's the Elysabeth Alfano Show. We have to take a break. Brian Rodgers, thanks for being with me. I so appreciate you. Fool's Gold, everybody. Just Google it. We will be back right after break. Send me those spices. Bye, Brian. Right here on WCGO. Okay, like always, our segment, The Doctor is Dialed In. I've got health nutritionists with me today, registered dietitians and nutritionists, James Marin and Dahlia Marin, Married to Health. You guys, thanks for being with me.
Oh, thank you for having us.
Yes, I'm so glad this worked out. So on this section, The Doctor is Dialed In, I like to give people some quick health tips that they can take home with them. First of all, you guys help people by adjusting their diet such that food is really medicine to keep them healthy. But I think the crux of what you do is all about having that good microbiome in your gut. Maybe take us a step back. What does that mean?
Right. Yeah. So there is what we like to say a galaxy made up of these small universes within our gut. So in this galaxy, we call it the body microbiome, and we also have the gut microbiome. We have the oral microbiome and the lung microbiome. So specifically even in the gut microbiome, it's made up of bacteria, it's made up of protozoa, it's made up of archaea, viruses even, which is a big hot topic. And so all of these little universes are working together to essentially keep us alive and healthy. So that is essentially the gut microbiome.
So it's a good thing when you
good
say
thing.
microbes and viruses. This is a good thing in our gut, or actually in our entire body. Maybe talk to
Right.
me about how our food choices affect our gut biome, our gut microbes, I guess, and what would be good for us and what would be bad for us.
Totally.
Absolutely. So we're starting to do more and more evidence-based, peer-reviewed research on this. A lot of times we've heard people say, and for hundreds of years we said food is medicine, and we know for the microbiome absolutely can have a huge impact, and you are what you eat. And that really speaks volumes, because what we now know is, we've talked before about this gut-brain connection, and a lot of people talk about it. Now we're starting to understand the impact of that. About 60 to 70% of our neurotransmitters are created in the gut. And so it's not just our brain that controls our cravings, it's our microbes. When we are eating inflammatory foods, or those that generate inflammation, you will have more inflammatory microbes. And that is going to then tell your brain to create more of those neurotransmitters that want and crave more of those other inflammatory foods. If you're eating anti-inflammatory foods, again, that's going to decrease inflammation and reduce cravings for those. So what are some inflammatory foods? We know animal products can be highly inflammatory, especially those that are factory farmed, and raised in CAFOs, which I know you and a lot of your colleagues have talked a lot about in these wet markets. And then we also see that highly processed foods, so things that are highly, highly processed and what we call highly palatable foods, things that have refined sugar, refined grains, tons of excess salt, tons of excess oil, those also tend to create a little bit more of an inflammatory microbiome, in addition to things like alcohol and smoking and other things. And what are anti-inflammatory? An abundance of a variety of color plant foods. So that's really what we highly recommend. Increased amounts of fiber in the diet, especially fruits, vegetables, nuts, grains, beans, legumes, just an abundance of those to feed those anti-inflammatory microbes.
Wonderful. So I love this, because all of these things are right in our control. You don't have to go to the doctor. You don't have to get blood work done even, although I'm sure that helps. And we can talk about that in a second. But, you don't have to go in some very expensive tests and trials. And you just start with the food right at your fingertips, which is really this whole foods, plant-based diet. So how would you know? Because I think a lot of people think they eat healthier than they actually eat.
Yes.
So how do you know? Can we read our gut? Like, without doing testing, can we read our gut? How would you know if your gut's out of whack?
Yeah, so I think the most common symptom, right? So this is where you're getting in tune with your body. You're feeling some of these symptoms possibly, and really symptoms are just your body's way of talking to you. I wish our brain can go, hey, this is your spleen, I'm talking to you, or this is your lungs, hey, I have something going on. I wish we had that diagnostic in our body, but we don't. So we have to go with the way we feel. And so typically it is the gas and the bloating, but it can also be things you wouldn't think about in regard to a connection to your gut microbiome or your gut health, which is postnasal drip or eczema, hives. So a lot of these like
Headaches,
allergy
brain
effects.
fog, fatigue, absolutely. A change in bowel habits as well. So these are all kind of warning lights that our body shoots out at us for us to then say, can I change nutritionally or in my lifestyle that can help make an impact on some of these symptoms?
Right.
And I'm just going to pick one out of that long list, because it can be overwhelming for people. But let's say hives. Most people, if they're breaking out in hives, they might think, oh, I had an allergic reaction to something outside my body, because it's happening topically, usually hives. But you're saying it could be something internally in the body. So what sort of things might cause hives, and what sort of things might cure hives? Just to give us an example, as food is medicine.
Yeah, totally. And so this is where it can be individualized, but I'll say one kind of aspect of food would be histamines, right? You hear about antihistamine or right, these histamine blockers, and those can be really good in a therapeutic treatment. And sometimes they can be over the counter, or they can be prescription drugs. But you have to understand histamines are everywhere. Histamines are basically a communication network in our gut microbiome, and our gut microbes, or certain factors and subsets of our gut microbiome, help us to process these histamines. So a good way to think about it is you have this factory and you've lost factory workers over time. And now you don't have enough employees to process the things you need to process in your factory, right? So histamines can be one of those products, let's say, that, hey, the workers just aren't there. They can't process that product correctly. And now you're getting this histamine reaction, which can trigger this cascade, and it can relate to hives. Hives are a histamine reaction, and you're just getting this overabundance of histamine. So you take an antihistamine. But really, it's the deeper root problem is saying, why is your gut not handling histamines? Why are you missing those workers? What is happening in your gut microbiome to lead you to have those hives, right? So it's definitely important to ask that question.
And
Yeah.
so food might be able to give you more workers in your
And
gut.
so
Is that what we're saying? Yes.
exactly.
Okay.
So a two-pronged approach can be, yeah, how do I bring those workers back? And then more importantly, if histamines are an issue, why did that arise? This is where it gets to gut permeability or leaky gut. So a lot of us not only have leaky gut, we have leaky esophagus as well. And so it is fixing that leakiness and then bringing back those workers. And that is the 1-2 punch that can, change the game big time.
So when you two work with clients, you work with Dr. Angie Sadeghi, who we had
Yeah.
on this show last week, but you also work with clients individually, just so everyone knows. Your websites are marriedtohealth.com, because the
Yes.
two of you are married and you're both dietitians. And then also yourgutconnection.com. So when you work with a client, how do you work with them? Because it's basically lifestyle management. Is that right?
Mhm.
Yes. Do
Absolutely. So usually we use a tag team approach. So we love it when we can have kind of that facilitated, streamlined patient care. And so medically, we always want to recommend that people work with Dr. Sadeghi, because we understand not all doctors are created equal, just like not all dietitians are created equally. But we, in our careers of 8 or 9 years of being dietitians, have worked with so many doctors, a majority of which don't recognize food as any important part of the healing process. So to us, it's really important for our patients to have a practitioner who recognizes that. And we're so fortunate that Dr. Sadeghi does understand that lifestyle management is foundational. And so she's really going to recommend what a patient would want to do. And we're going to take them through how, and we're going to explain very thoroughly why they are taking that lifestyle intervention and really employing these skills and teaching them how to use them. We always say that we're kind of like Home Depot. Like, we teach people, we have all the ability to teach people how to use these tools, but it's really going to depend on the person of how they're going to employ it in their lives. Does it fit into their life? Does it make sense for them to have a weed whacker, or a chainsaw or something like that?
Right.
But we are here, we have these tools, and then we teach how to use them. And if the patients want to use them, that's up to them. And we're adding new exciting practitioners
To the Dr. Sadeghi practice, you mean? Oh, this is wonderful. So sorry, please go ahead. So are people understanding this more and more? I think people are so used to, so I go to the doctor, I expect a pill. And if the doctor doesn't give me a pill and they just say, oh gosh, really should have more raspberries and blueberries, then the client, customer, patient leaves thinking, I didn't get any, advice or whatever. So are people starting to make the connection?
Yes, I definitely. So again, food is the foundation. We're seeing a lot more people want root causes, right? So they want to understand the why. They want to then understand the how. So it's important to find those roots and not just kind of cover these big issues with a little Band-Aid or a pill or an over-the-counter kind of therapy that doesn't work long-term. So it is definitely about long-term sustainable health and practices.
I think we're starting to move past that pill for every ill mindset, and people are understanding that, yes, there's a time and a place for them, but honestly, most of the time, if you're just depending on pills over lifestyle, you're going to end up having your own little pharmacy after a while and necessitate more for the other pills that you're taking. So we really want to integrate both when appropriate and when necessary.
Yes, I really understand that. And I just sort of want to reiterate to everybody, just like the very basics, eat the color of the rainbow. So that's a way to make sure you're getting everything that you need. So rather than just say, oh my gosh, I heard it was berries that are anti-inflammatory, just think of a varied diet of whole food, plant-based, so whole grains and lots of veggies and lots of colors and peppers, and bring in all the colors of the rainbow, and you're off to a good start. But of course, tell everybody again, if they want to reach out to you for personalized consultations, how do they find you?
Yeah, they can find us at marriedtohealth.com or at Married to Health on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube as well. And through there, I would sign up for our newsletter because we do have some exciting news. We're adding more plant-based practitioners, so that would be great.
Well, thank you so much. I'm so happy to have you here with all these facts for everybody. It's the Elysabeth Alfano Show. Oh, how I hate to leave you. I will see everybody next Sunday at 3 p.m. Thanks for all you do.